Here we are going to have another conversation with Ed Walker. And who might be here as a guest? Mrs. Susan Hartmere, an old friend of mine from way back. No, I can't say way back. That would
no, it's not that bad.
We'll say we knew each other when we were a couple of years younger. But anyway, Mrs. Hartmere has been traveling around the world to different countries on her own, trying to help people out. Now, part of this, it's a little confusing. I'm going to turn it right over to her so she can figure it out. But there's a little bit of Rotary in this. There's a little bit of just people wanting to do good things for poorer people. And maybe we'll learn something from these poorer people that'll put us a little bit ahead. All right. Now, how did you get started in this business? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question. The very first trip I took was to Bolivia. Yeah. And I was approached by someone in Rotary, and they said they were going to Bolivia for a cleft palate mission, and I said I would like to go. So I went on that mission, and then I got the bug.
You got the bug. So you say, now if I can go to, how long were you in Bolivia?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So you say, I could work this out. You know, you get to Bolivia. It costs you money to get there and all that, but I mean, you get to travel.
Yes.
And without making too many arrangements.
It's a working vacation.
A working vacation.
That's what I call it.
So when you get there, have you been, like, I'm not going to say you're an afraid person, but where you stayed and the security and the villages you went to or the cities you went to, everything was okay? In Bolivia?
In Bolivia it was fine. I was aghast that at the hospital there were people sleeping under the stairwells. And when you went to the restroom, there was no soap, and I was allowed to go into an operating room right up to where this child was being operated on, and the doctor said, see, all the parts are there, but we have to just bring them down. And I think, wow.
Wow.
That you would let me in there. Well, we went to Costa Rica, El Salvador,
El Salvador, I mean, there's a lot of danger there, I think.
Yes, El Salvador was, there might be a picture of a sailing coming down. That was the dirtiest, most filthy job we went on.
Really?
Yes. We pulled down those panels so that children could, once they were back up and they were white, could come back into the school. There were dead critters coming down, dirt. You know, 30 years worth of dirt, and it was so rewarding at the end, though, because we put up the white. It was excellent. So
who's supervising for you? I see you had mask on, so you don't get sick from dust and all that stuff. Now, was there one guy that's in charge of saying, today we're going to paint, tomorrow we're going to do this to clean?
Our leader does that, but the interesting part is our leader will say, we need 10 gallons of paint, 24 rollers, and masks and everything, and they will come back 4 hours later, which is a killer, with 8 gallons of paint, 6 rollers, and you just throw up your hands because you could do so much
if you had
the stuff.
We started the organization 4 years ago. I don't know, I just kind of had an idea of a blues festival. I like the blues and classic rock and things like that, and I just all of a sudden was saying, what do you think of the Library Park Blues Festival? It just rolled off my tongue, and people like Tommy Doherty were pulling by when I was looking at the park, and I was looking at Library Park in January. It's cold, and I'm looking there, and I said, hey, Tommy, what do you think of the Library Park Blues Festival? And just we started talking, and he wanted to be in the organization if we did anything, which he was for a couple of years. And, you know, Billy, he said, you know, we talked about this, and all of a sudden it just popped. Joe Simus, we got 7 people on the committee. Joe Simus, his wife Irene. Irene is our secretary.
Of course.
Bill's daughter Jennifer is our treasurer, co-treasurer with John Queen. Bill Murray is the band coordinator. I'm the president, and I usually MC the shows and do all the hawking, you know what I mean? We're always trying to sell stuff and whatnot, guitar raffles, and So, did I miss somebody?
Mark Gaffney.
Mark Gaffney, too. Mark Gaffney, who's the Woburn City Councilor, Alderman Ward 3, and he helps us with signs and manpower and ideas.
Yeah.
You know, we meet on a regular basis, and we've really discussed how we can improve this and whatnot. And the first festival, yeah, we really didn't know what was going to happen. We ended up with 1,200 people there, and it was a rousing success. We had a lot of good sponsors.
When I go down to listen to a little bit of music, I get the car, throw the kids in the car. So now everybody's out there saying, oh, the kids are running all over the place and so what's going on. So the library park is like closed in. It's like a fence all around it.
Exactly.
So the kids can have a free run.
They can run around and have a ball out there.
Yeah. So how are you going to keep them busy?
Well, there are some games. I think Lawless Chrysler Jeep, who is one of our sponsors this year, and they're actually a major sponsor for us this year. Lawless Chrysler Jeep Fiat, and they're going to provide some games. What do you call that?
Like pitching,
beanbag toss there, and cornhole or whatever for kids, and a few different games the kids can come down and enjoy. And they're a sponsor, and also their parent company, Chrysler Corporation, is a sponsor for us this year. And they have donated to us a 2-year lease for a Ram truck. So all you have to do is come to the festival, fill out a raffle stub, put it in, and you have a chance to win. You don't have to, doesn't have to buy anything. You do have to be at the festival, so it's going to cost you to get in the festival. But
to make the ticket out. Yeah.
Right,
and then you got to go there.
Right, you got to come to our festival. If you make a ticket out, it goes in the drawing, and you can win a 2-year lease of a Dodge Ram truck, courtesy of Lawless Chrysler Jeep Fiat, over in Four Corners.
Nice.
And Fiat, the international Chrysler Fiat
Corporation.
Corporation. They're all behind it.
Right. So they've donated some good money to us. They've donated this truck. They're going to provide a couple of trucks down there that people can look at, and they're all going to have an area outside on Harrison Ave that you can test drive a Dodge Ram truck that day.
Really?
So they're really behind us 100%, and they're doing a lot of good stuff for us. So that stuff, people can come down, check it out, win your truck lease, and take a test drive if that's something that you're interested in.
Greg has been with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in and out. I'm sure he's an attorney, right?
I am an attorney.
Okay,
yes.
so therefore, and I call a person like him is a professional bureaucrat in the best sense of the word, because if we didn't have these guys going around checking rules and regulations on how people act in their businesses and their affairs, then we would all be having hatchets and guns and shooting each other like the Wild West. So it's a pleasure for us to have you come in.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it, and I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah.
But
so let's spend a few minutes. I wanted to we'll talk about a couple of things. We'll spend some time talking about the scamming, and then this other thing as far as people at the ATM machine.
Yeah, the skimming devices. Like so along with changing your password, there are other things that you can do to protect your identity. Are you familiar with the term dumpster divers, Ed?
Nope.
That's where people literally.
Well, I got an idea. Go ahead.
That's where people will literally go out and go through your trash.
That's right.
And people will throw away old tax returns, statements containing their date of birth, social security number. So we advise consumers to invest in a paper shredder. You can get it for pretty cheap money, and it helps protect your identity. The other type of identity theft that we're seeing a lot of is the skimming devices that, again, you and I spoke of before the show. Our Division of Banks is dealing with it because they're locating these skimming devices in ATM machines. What they'll go in is dead of night, blacken out the camera, pry open the device, or put it on top of a facade on top of the ATM machine. What they'll do is they'll mount the machine, and then they'll put a camera on the side, little pinhole. Basically, no, they're capturing your password, and then the device is capturing your information. Recently, there was a correctional officer who was attending a conference down in Providence, and he went to an ATM machine before, and he noticed that the front of it was somewhat skewed, and he pulled it, and
the whole thing
came out. And now, we don't advise consumers to do that because there's potential forensic evidence. So notify the local law enforcement. They'll notify potentially the Secret Service or the FBI, and they'll come out and they'll open up an investigation. But in addition to finding them in ATM machines, we're finding them in gas pumps. There's a group operating out of Eastern Europe. Recently, we were notified that there was a group driving around in a VW with Texas plates from Eastern Europe. They were stopped on motor vehicle charges. They had outstanding warrants, and when they went through the vehicle, they found all these skimming devices that they determined had been placed throughout Norfolk County. Again, they'll go in through the dead of night. They'll put the skimming device in.
Really, yeah.
Back in the day, when our inspectors who inspect the pumps periodically found them, or when a proprietor of gas station located them, they would contact the local law enforcement. They set up surveillance, wait for them to show up. Now they basically operate by way of Bluetooth. They leave the device in. It's cost of doing business. Recently at the cybersecurity conference, we had a member of the FBI speaking, and he talked about an investigation that they had done up in upstate New York. It was a high tourist area. They had put these skimming devices in a mom and pop store up there that had quite a few visitors, and they had downloaded all this information, distributed it worldwide to 30 countries with a caveat: do not release it until you're given the specific date and time, at which point they gave them the green light, and within a matter of hours, $30 million had been lost. And people don't even, and again, they don't even know that. So we advise consumers to check your bank statement, because what they're going to do is, once they obtain your information, they'll use it to make small purchases for $1.50, $5, just to make sure it's an active credit card, and then they will hit it up for $500 ATM withdrawal. And before you know it, there's $1,000 for this purchase or that. And so there are ways that consumers can protect themselves by reviewing your bank statements,